All right, guys, let me start by saying, man, what a wonderful crowd. It was great to have our fans in the Liberty Bowl. They were absolutely fantastic, and I think that made a difference. You see the effort that our defense played, the energy on the sideline, from the opening kickoff. Our fans were dialed and engaged. Beautiful day here in Memphis, and just so thankful for them to be out there. And, reality, just proud of our guys' efforts. And I've been talking to you guys, and when I say this, the media and our fans, and just saying, our guys continue to believe, they continue to work, they continue to do things the right way, and sometimes you just want to see it show up on the field. And look, I understand what's happened this season. Nobody's happy with the record, and that ultimately starts with me and the things that we wanted to get fixed and corrected, and we're still a work in progress. One game is not going to define us. Always great to come in and get a win versus a top 25 football team, another conference win. But just, the way it was played and the outstanding effort by the defense, some stuff that occurred, good and bad on special teams. And, we continue to see some different guys flourish and step up on offense. So, great team win, whatever it took. And I was just proud to see it. And, I talked to our guys, after the UCF game and during the bye, and I said, everybody out on the outside is going to doubt us and continue. But I said, we have to stay focused, we have to stay dialed in. And we're going to work, and we're going to work harder, and we're going to push, and we're going to continue to do things the right way. And every single one of our young men, the 116 that we have in the locker room, now their head and said, okay, let's go. We got this. Let's work harder. Let's push. How can we improve? What can we do? And it started with me. I always look in the mirror and say, well, what do I need to do? And I've got a million things I got to fix and get better at. But the great thing about our guys is they say, yes. And then right after this game, you got an 18-year-old quarterback says, okay, thanks. Congratulations, thanks. Okay, but let's get ready for East Carolina. And those are the type of young men you want. We've got the highest character guys that continue to do it the right way, and just so proud to see their efforts come to fruition again today. We still got a lot of work to do and things to improve upon, but man, it feels great to get a win.
Frank, Evan, and then Terry.
Ryan, how soon was it for the game to end on the interception after the type of game the defense had today?
Yeah, I think that was the icing on the cake, right? We talk about it all the way. Let's be real. One of our reasons that we were with a 4-4 record was the turnover margin. And I'm not a big stat guy, and I think I mentioned this in the press conference on Monday. I showed our guys during the bye week. I showed the turnover margin. I said, this is not good enough. And this is where we sit. And there's amongst of other things, whatever it may be, but this turnover margin is a huge reason for it. And I'm not going to sit there and blame injuries, and we're not going to point blame at players, coaches, all that stuff. This is something we can get fixed, and we got to work on it. We do. We harp on it, preach on it. But for the way the defense played all game, right, 5 sacks, some takeaways. I think we finished +2 and the takeaway margin. And for Rodney Owens to get up there because, man, you guys have known college football. You guys have also seen the battles, with SMU the last few years have come down to the last possession. We went back and I was watching. Their last onside kick was here in the Liberty Bowl, and it was 54-48 the last time they were here, and they were kicking an onside kick to try to get the ball back and win the game. So we knew it was going to come down, regardless of what that score looked like. That's the day and age of college football, to the last possession. But man, great job by Rodney Owens to go high point that ball and come down with it, and smart enough to just go down and know the game was over.
And then 4th down. You guys were pretty stellar on 4th down. Was that aggression, was that the game plan coming in, or did it just kind of come out that way?
Yeah, absolutely. And that, we generally talk to our guys. They understand that offense understands their game plan, defense understands their game plan, special teams. Very rarely do I get the entire team together and say, okay, here's what the game plan is for all 3 phases. And it started really yesterday afternoon before we left for the team hotel, and I talked about it again this morning. I said, understand this, guys, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to empty our chamber. We're going to do certain things. I said to the defense guys, hey, there's going to be a 4th and 2. We're going to go for it our own, behind the 50. And sure enough, it happened today. Obviously, we had a false start. There's enough things that, the pass by Rodriguez-Clark on another 4th and 2, right, where that we were aggressive and probably called a trick play. If it didn't work, you guys would be roasting me right now. But just great execution by our young men. And just they knew we were going to be aggressive. Look, if there was things that were there, for possible fake punt. We talked about it, and our players were like, yeah, coach, we got you. And to have the defense play the way they did, it gave our offense guys even more confidence to go for it. And I looked at the defense and said, hey, guys, we're going for it. Great, let's go. And so this was one of those rare games where I got everybody together and said, here's what the game plan is. Here's what we're going to be aggressive. In fact, our first key to victory today, when I met with the guys this morning after breakfast, I said, we got to be the aggressor in all 3 phases. And I don't know if I've ever had that as a true key to victory. And it was kind of a similar approach to, the UCF game here last year, we knew what we had to do. We knew how explosive their offense was coming in. If someone told me the score would be what it was at halftime, I'd say, again, that's why they don't ask me to predict scores on anything. But just, again, but our guys bought into the way we were going to attack today and being aggressive, and so that was key.
Obviously, Seth playing today was huge, but just kind of leading into the week, just kind of how, you told us Monday, we was waiting to see how he was going to practice. What made you confident, just how confident were you that he was able to just not only play, but handle a bigger load, throwing obviously over 50 passes?
Yeah, I mean, look, I did not plan to go in the game and throw over 50 passes. That's the reality of it. Seth is still yet to be 100%, but talking to the doctors, talking to him, there's no risk of further injury. It's one of those things that's going to continue to heal. I don't want to get into specifics of injuries. I'm certainly not a medical expert. I got people in my family that are. But Seth, the young man that says, Coach, I'm good. But even then, you know, he wants to battle through it. And you know, Peter Parrish got just as many reps this past week, and Peter understood, hey, it could be. So if Seth woke up this morning and said, Coach, I don't think I can go, I'd completely understand. We'd feel confident in the rest of our quarterbacks to go. But Seth, you know, I would say this. I don't know if he got the full load of reps, complete practice, maybe all the way till yesterday. And that's pretty unusual. But, you know, we limited with what he did because I didn't want him to be sore. You know, we obviously, with the election, we were off on Tuesday. Wednesday, he was a modified still, and then Thursday was a walkthrough. We didn't even throw the football on Thursday, and then yesterday was a limited practice, and that was really the first time that he was able to go out. So that speaks volumes of how engaged he is, how intelligent he is to be able to understand the game plan without getting every rep.
And then just quickly, obviously, is there any word on Brandon Thomas? And I guess just confirm we heard on the radio, is Colin Watkins indeed out for the season?
Yeah, let me start with Colin Watkins. You know, he was a young man that broke his foot in practice on Wednesday's practice. A great young man from the city of Memphis that came back as a walk-on that earned a scholarship and would have had a significant role in this game. And the scheme that we were going to run, you know, he really, in essence, you guys look on our depth chart, at one point was our starting four-back, as we call it in this offense. And just a fantastic guy that was on scholarship, that battled, that's smart. And him and I had the conversation. He said, you know, Coach, I'm so grateful for this university. But, you know, he knows that his time's done, and, you know, he's got to heal up and then go be a firefighter in our great city and do something to give back. But, man, you feel for a young man like that. So that's another season-ending injury for us, and it was just one of those freak things in practice that occurred on Wednesday. And then Brandon Thomas, as you guys saw, you saw him in street clothes. He was still suffering from an injury versus UCF. And some of you guys, I think, had asked what happened at the end of UCF, why he didn't go in, why Asa Martin went in. And partially was because Brandon had been hurt in that game. Truly, I'm not trying to play this shell game with you guys. He truly is day-to-day, and that's reality. And when he's healthy and ready to go, he'll get back out there and be our back. But just, you know, look, were the numbers gaudy for our run game? No, it starts with everything, right, from scheme to offensive line to tight ends to the running backs. But, you know, we trust Rodriguez-Clark. We trust Markevius Weaver, Asa Martin, Cam Fleming, the rest of those guys that are on our roster.
You say day-to-day, does that mean short-term or long-term, at least with Thomas, or is it too soon to say right now?
Yeah, that's a question. I ask our medical staff. We go through the things, and when they're listed as out, I always say, when do they know? And, hey, when the doctor clears them. So.
Two questions for you. Special team first. First, was that script kick planned at the end of the first half? And was that a rugby style kick that went bad in the second half?
Yep, so two things. Yep, the very first squib kick, obviously we'd hope it'd go a little bit deeper, and he cut across, and we did a poor job. We got cut off on our lanes, and that's why he was able to get back. Obviously, never want to give up. You know, I was sitting there having flashbacks of the Tulsa before halftime and getting sick to my stomach. And, you know, we obviously wanted to kick it a little bit deeper. Number 0, I think, leads the country in kickoff returns, so you try to have a game plan for him. He's averaging like over 52 yards a return, and we knew how dangerous he was. So we didn't want to just kick it off. You know, he's returned. We've seen him return balls 7 yards deep in the end zone, and so and he's absolutely electric. So it was a planned squib kick. Obviously, it didn't go as perfectly as executed. And then what happened on the rugby-style punt? You guys know we're not a true rugby deal. Is they gave us an overload to one side, and it was actually an excellent call by John Hassel to put us into a rugby style. Unfortunately, it wasn't executed at the level that we hoped and put us in a bad situation. But you know, the defense obviously once again stepped up and did a fantastic job.
And the second question is fourth down. I know analytics don't tell you go for it that many times during the game for fourth down, does it?
You know, I don't. I believe in analytics to a point. Like I said, a lot of getting. Again, it goes back to the the question earlier, kind of what our thoughts were being aggressive in this game. And so I think, I look over the sideline. If Rodney Owens is winking at me on 4th and 2, that means, hey, you got the defensive blessing. Go for it, coach. Let's get this thing. And that's the cool thing is they all believe they fight. And if it worked out, great. And if it didn't, so be it. I got asked on the radio before coming in here. They said, were you really they didn't say, I think the word they were looking for was foolish enough to try to go for it backed up in your own territory on 4th and 2 down up 3. And I said, at that point, if you did, you just would have felt confidence. And obviously we had the false start. I'm not going to get in. Obviously we had 3 false start penalties. That's a conversation between me and our commissioner that need to occur. But at the end of the day, we were going to be aggressive in our, and like I said, like I was mentioning to Frank earlier, this is the first time. And if we ever have that game plan, every week's a different season. But our guys knew that we were going to be aggressive, especially on 4th downs.
Coach, it looked like a lot more 4-2-5 today than traditional 3-4. Was that a scheme change, or was that a specific look that you thought SMU would present?
Well, I hope East Carolina's listening to this. So we're going to complete scheme change
Yeah.
totally throughout the defense. And next week will be a 3-3-5 stack, monster stack, and then change it again week to week. I think a lot is what the type of offense SMU is, and they've got they were I believe the 7th ranked offense coming into this game in the country, and reality. I would never say this in front of our players. Like, all right, we're gonna have to limit the explosives, and that was one of our keys to victory. Also, I told these guys, I said, hey, they've got good players. We got to limit the explosives. We got to get the explosives. And you talk about the first play of the game where we missed Calvin by the length of the stable. No offense to our young quarterback, but that we were going to take. That's part of being aggressive and taking shots. But I think the defense is going to fit to whatever our opponent's going to give us. Right? If we play East Carolina and they're a 22 personnel, then we probably won't stay in that 4-2-5.
Just thoughts on the play with Preston Brady?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, first off, he's really fast for a long snapper. Obviously, he gets that. Anybody knows his dad, he obviously gets his athleticism from his mom, Carrie. And so, but, man, that was cool because he went down there. And we talk about changing the game in special teams and, whether it's, Gabe with a nice kick return, but being able to get a turnover on special teams is huge because all of a sudden, the offense is on the bench, all right, going through stuff, and then bam, oh, something happened, and he ran down there, he trusted it. We've talked to him about making sure he protects the big field on the return. He came at a perfect angle at the hip. He saw the guy drop it and just dove on the ball and then fought for it and recovered it. So just fantastic effort by him.
How much does the win mean? And obviously, if they had gone down and scored that last, you still would have worked hard this week. But what does it mean to see that happen?
Yeah. Jeff, you're exactly right. I mean, I kind of said this. I don't ever want to take wins and say they're different than others, but let's be real. I'm a realist, and I've always been straightforward with you guys. First off, versus the top 25 team, and then second off, the way that this season's going with the ebbs and flows, right? You start off 3-0, you beat Mississippi State, and everybody's riding high. And right after that Mississippi State game, I told her, be careful who you listen to, and it's always going to matter. But our guys, like I've said in those team meetings, coach me, coach mentality. How can we get better? How can we improve? And they believe, and they fight, and they care, and they've got great character. So this win, what it does is, again, I think what it's going to allow these guys to go back and say, man, all right, the plan's in place. We believe that I tell them quite often, and sometimes maybe they get bored of the message, but the message is generally going to stay the same because it's going to be approached in a different manner every single week. But the way we do things, the way we work, the way we believe, if we stick to this plan, we'll ultimately have success. And I tell them, without getting on a soapbox, Jeff, that's going to lead to ultimate success throughout their lives. And they believe, I'm telling you, regardless of all that, we had the 3-game losing streak. And not one single guy batted an eye. Not one single guy said, this is too hard. Not one single guy said, I can't do this. I'm tapping out. They all said, how do we work? How do we get better? How do we improve? In fact, I think they actually worked harder because they understood. Now, they worked their tails off. They care. They love each other. Like I said, this adversity has allowed us to grow together. And if anybody was able to see, I hope it wasn't Insta-chatted live or anything like that, but the way they're dancing, enjoying each other, it just shows how much they care and want to celebrate and be around each other. So it's awesome because now it allows, I can go back tomorrow, and after wins, we get to be a little bit harder on them. Say, hey, these are the things we got to get, and they'll be bright-eyed. I know it. And they say, okay, what do we got to do? And that much more looking forward to the challenges that East Carolina's going to present next week.
2 more.
Ryan, that first half, both teams struggled to score, and this was a game where the offense had to stay dialed in the whole game. What did you see about their demeanor coming out in that second half, being able to do what they were doing?
Yeah, so, Frank, we talked to our guys at halftime, and a lot of respect for SMU, a lot of respect for their coaches, their personnel. There's a reason they're a top 25 team in the country, because they've had a lot of success. But I walked over to the offense and said, can they stop us? And they all said, heck no. And so if we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, if we're able to complete some stuff, if we're able to do things the right way, not turn the ball over, we knew that we could execute at a high enough level. We saw that Calvin was a little bit banged up, but our guys all had locked in, dialed in, and they kept that focus. And I've talked about it, right? The focus level of 18 to 23-year-olds is harder and harder, but it's been so unique to see. And I go back, obviously the UCF game, but just these last two home games, if you look at the sideline, we don't have guys sitting on the bench. We don't have guys complaining. We've got guys dialed in, and whether at the defense side of the field, the offense, the entire team was. And I think it just speaks highly of their character. And I know that very few people will notice this. I'm going to talk to these young men about this tomorrow. We came in off the bus. We have a travel squad, okay? And we traveled 74 players. And then the other, for lack of a better term, 40, don't travel. And they're in the locker room. Well, most of my years I've come in, and those 40 that don't travel are laying on the ground, sleeping, eating, doing something. And especially when you roll in at 8:30 in the morning. That's what you'd expect. We came in off the bus, and every single one of those guys was there clapping, excited, and ready to go. And those were the guys that didn't get to do the tight walk, didn't get to wear the suits. And you know what? That speaks as high as volumes about the young men that we have. And I'm not trying to get on my soapbox. It's easier to do when you get a win. But the guys, and every single one of our players can attest to that. Man, it was just so great to see that they care. And I just think it's going to allow us to continue to build upon this thing because we've got a lot of vets, we've got a lot of young guys, and we just got to keep pushing.
Ryan, sorry, I came walking a little late, so apologize if this was asked already. I have to file a deadline. But defense comes up with 5 sacks today. SMU had given up 5 sacks all season. How do you explain the ferocious pass rush?
Man, it was just so great to see, and it was much needed. I'll be the first to say our pass rush hasn't been what we wanted to do. And kudos to those guys in the backing because I thought they covered really well versus some explosive receivers, which allowed the pass rush to get there. I think we talked about shifting some because when you play a 3-down with some of those 4 eyes, it's more to stop the run, but to be able to get out there and get on the edge. I think it all came together nicely, and I think it was the perfect storm of our guys. And like I said, Mark, you weren't here when I said this. I think our fans. Our guys played off our fans, and I don't ever want our guys to be emotional, right? And I know we're going to have, we'll make sure this is noted, we're going to have 40,000 fans in Libertyville next weekend for the ECU game, and so I hope we continue to feed off that great energy as well.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. You all have a great day.